We've got another onslaught of storms on the way for parts of northern and eastern Europe, bringing heavy snowfall and more strong. This comes just after a powerful bomb cyclone impacted Scandinavia, bringing hurricane-force wind and heavy precipitation. This next wave of storms will be the final blow from this extreme weather pattern that we've been dealing with for some time, and this will give way to a shift in the precipitation and temperature patterns. So without further delay, let's get straight into it. We're starting this off today a little bit different, and this map here basically gives us a broad view of where the lower and higher pressures are, so it's going to give us some insight on who will see the biggest changes. Notice this low pressure over here, and this is the bomb cyclone which hit Norway yesterday. As that heads east, it's going to continue weakening, but now we need to turn our attention towards Iceland and Greenland as another group of robust low pressure systems will develop there. Those are going to end up slamming into Norway by this weekend, and while I do expect another wave of strong winds and heavy snowfall out of that, I don't think it's going to be as severe as what Norway just dealt with. Even still, this new complex of low pressures will move inland, bringing widespread heavy snowfall and strong wind. As you'll see in a few moments, the system may produce localized blizzard conditions in Eastern Europe, but before I show you the precipitation map, take note of what happens. This is what things should look like by about February 6th. Watch as this massive low pressure starts to pivot northward after taking a dive southeastward. This will basically cause an atmospheric backflip, and you're going to see why in just a moment. This is at about February 8th into the 9th, and look at what we have over Western Europe. We have a new low pressure system over here. It's this storm right here which will be the beginning of a big change in the pattern. Let's take a closer look. Let's start this off today, February 1st. We have the associated wind and snow showers moving across the Nordic and Baltic countries from this bomb cyclone, but the onslaught of storms that I keep talking about is already showing its first signs in the British Isles with this warm front lifting north. This will bring milder air ahead of its arrival. By February 2nd, we can see the new complex of low pressures more clearly as it passes by Iceland. Even though that storm is still going to be over the ocean, the associated frontal system will be way ahead, already bringing the next wave of snow to northern and eastern Europe. This complex of low pressures will start making landfall by the 3rd, and you're going to notice this distinct area of low pressure here, which could dip down to the 940 millibar range as it makes landfall. Going into the 4th, we see this activity quickly move inland, with widespread heavy snow showers arriving in Eastern Europe. The low pressure systems will remain strong after moving inland, so this of course will help increase the wind speed, leading to the possibility of localized blizzard conditions from eastern Poland into Ukraine, Belarus, the Baltic countries, and western Russia through February 5th. Behind this system, we will see some colder air working its way in, so that's why you see some persistent snow here in northeastern Poland into Ukraine by February 6th. This stream of moisture that you're probably noticing here is actually the final stage of this weather pattern, because by the time we get to the 7th, we finally see the pattern change begin, as a large storm comes off the Atlantic, spreading widespread rainfall and wind all the way from Iberia to the British Isles. This is all still about a week away, so I don't want to treat this as an official forecast just yet, but I do think that something along these lines is becoming more likely. You can see that once that storm moves in, a much more varied pattern takes hold, with some activity in the south and other storms affecting the north. This is a good sign, especially since we've had to deal with a very stuck weather pattern recently, so we're finally going to have a little bit more of a moderate weather pattern. I'll keep you updated on the latest developments on that, but we don't want to get too far into the future on these weather models, so let's take a look at where the most snowfall is expected in the next 5 days. This is roughly the time frame just before this pattern shift is going to take shape, so of course we can expect lots of snowfall in northern and eastern Europe. As we would expect, Norway is going to see more heavy snowfall as these storms continue battering the region for another week or so. Then over the Baltic countries, western Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and eastern Poland, watch out for several waves of snow in the coming days as these storms pass by. Then within the February 4th and the 6th time frame, I think we're going to see an increase in wind speed as a strong low pressure area moves through, so blizzard conditions are going to be possible on a more local scale. Now let's put into perspective the impact that this changing pattern will have on precipitation totals. Here's what we're looking at for the next 5 days. So February 1st through the 5th, we see a very stark difference in who is going to get rainfall and who's getting none. And this, of course, can be blamed on that high pressure area sitting over southern Europe. But now compare that to the rainfall expected over the next 10 days and look at how much of a difference. We see a drastic change, especially in southwestern Europe, where we went from zero rainfall in France, Spain, and Portugal to widespread heavy totals. One last thing I wanted to show you today is the temperature anomaly. The majority of Europe continues experiencing above average temperatures, and that should continue for a few more days. We should start seeing some changes by the 5th, especially over Scandinavia, and that's because we start getting more of an easterly flow from Russia because of that massive low pressures helping to throw in some colder air. Some of this cold may eventually try creeping further south as we go through time, although it doesn't look too significant outside of Sweden, Norway, and Finland. So all in all, it looks like the precipitation shift will be the most significant part of this pattern change rather than the cold air, at least in the beginning. Some longer range model guidance does suggest further changes, especially by the middle of February and beyond, but of course that's still too far in the future to know for sure. If you want to see more updates on the interesting times we have in store this month, I definitely recommend subscribing so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.